This is my brand new PlayStation account, and my goal is to platinum a million billion games, starting with Spider-Man 2018. The game has 51 trophies including the platinum, and is set to take 25 hours.
So let's get sticky.
The game starts off with the cutscene we all relate to, being broke as hell and having absolutely no motion. But there's no time to moat because I'm literally Spider-Man. After a short little web-slinging tutorial, I get absolutely molested and die in the very first fight of the game. Maybe I shouldn't have put the game on the hardest difficulty. Anyways, after that embarrassing little tutorial run, we head over to Fisk Tower to give that big boy a spanking. Unfortunately, he had some anti-spank countermeasures, but even more unfortunately for him, I easily broke them and super awesomely and cinematically kicked his ass back to a normally large individual town where he came from, and got my first trophy. With that, I helped this balding guy test out his new GIMP machine and called this homeless lady Stinky before getting my hand on this new quote-unquote improved suit, which was actually obscenely ass. So I did what any sensible man would do and dressed my boy up like the GOAT. I then stuck into this bing-bong looking ass building to get information or something, which really sucks because Insomniac introduced me to their worst creation, MJ missions. This first one wasn't that shit, but if you're playing as a ginger, it's honestly automatically a loss. Anyways, this bitch got executed because of my shit stealth skills, which was absolutely hilarious, and then I saved Gingivitis from a bunch of bad guys. Common spider simp behavior. I then decided to take a brief break from the story to get a couple trophies, those being lost and found for collecting 5 backpacks and ace the base for doing all the side objectives in an enemy base. Anyways, back to the story. We have an epic chase sequence with Electro just to web him up. Pretty anticlimactic, not gonna lie. It's fine though, because we ended up fighting him like 10 minutes later at this bank instead. This boss fight consisted of a staggering amount of throwing rocks, face kicking, and dropping a big ass fuck off chandelier on Electro's zappy body, which gave me a trophy. What a shocker. We then did like a stealth and investigation mission with this cop, which is actually Miles' dad if you didn't know. We then found some demon gang members during our investigation and ultimately got into a fight with them, where I popped a trophy for doing a perfect dodge for what I believe to be 10 times. I then got another trophy while chasing the same guys for web slinging super awesomely, I guess. A lot happened during this chase scene. I mean, I probably fucking killed the semi-truck driver, but then I saved him from a moving train just in case he wasn't dead, and then the cop we were investigating with earlier did some Sea of Thieves type bullshit and rams into the demon's car. Absolutely banger sequence of events, not gonna lie. After all that, I got sick of needless violence, so I took a break to get some easy trophies. First, I greeted 10 civilians, then grabbed a black cat collectible, which basically just makes you spot a cat through a camera lens, which is fairly fun to be honest. Then I took advantage of all these free suits to get me the snappy dresser trophy for equipping 5 of them. My last 2 trophies of this little streak was just for crafting my first upgrade and web slinging over some rooftops, which is pretty much impossible to not do accidentally. With all that out of the way, Peter crashes at the homeless shelter because my boy actually got evicted, and Aunt May thought she was being generous by giving us $200. Listen, Aunt May, this isn't the 60s anymore. $200 ain't even enough for half a month's rent in this economy. I'd be better off selling my crusty Spidey underpants than taking these funds. Peter then uses Aunt May's kind $200 donation to indulge in some white stuff in order to absolutely terrorize the city in the name of justice, stopping cranes, hijacking helicopters, and probably committing like 30 felonies. After all that, we went to Miles' dad's rally, got absolutely blown to smithereens, and got introduced to our very first Miles mission, which is essentially just MJ missions without the view, if you know what I'm saying. The mission was kinda ass honestly, because like the MJ missions, you can't kill anyone and you just gotta pray you don't get shot. After realizing Miles' dad was in fact dead, the game cuts to his funeral. I almost felt bad for Miles until a trophy popped, which was neuron activation at its finest. We then did some more stealth for reasons I honestly can't remember and met Silver salivating Ballsack, which has one of the worst stages of the trophy cleanup after the story in my opinion. Next thing we had to do was investigate Martin Lee's office to find proof that he is in fact the demon gang leader, which for something that's supposed to be really simple was apparently too complicated for my troglodyte brain. Firstly, I struggled with the puzzle that was clearly implying a yin and yang symbol, yet somehow I still needed to look up a guide for this, and if that wasn't enough, my dumbass jumped on an electric floor like a fly in a zap trap. In any case, I finally managed to complete these basic tasks and had a close call with Lee himself. Anyways, we then had another stupid MJ mission where we watched this dude take the most astronomical bitch slap imaginable from Tombstone, which was pretty funny. Anyways, I have no idea how this was important to the story, but I just decided to mention it because why not? Anywhoosie, I got a trophy for completing a combat benchmark, which is basically just mini challenges in the game, and they are really not that important. We then had yet another stealth mission taking place in this like penthouse, where we got the arachnophobia trophy for getting 75 stealth kills. After clearing out said penthouse, we questioned this dude with a man bun about something called the Devil's Breath, which is something the demon gang is supposedly after. Unfortunately, our conversation was cut short like a Jew's foreskin though, because some demons absolutely exploded the building we were in. Long story short, I saved Man Bun Guy, and the story now has us following a lead that we have on the Dragon's Breath. Before we get to that though, I had quite a few trophies I wanted to obtain. First, I did this Taskmaster Bomb challenge. These are basically timed objectives that can be stealth, combat bomb, or drone related, and I got a trophy trophy for making good time in a bomb challenge. I then chained 4 tricks together, perched atop of the Avengers Tower, activated all surveillance towers, which are basically just sync points from Assassin's Creed, and fast traveled 5 times, all of which gave me a juicy trophy for each associated task. I even got all the backpack collectibles for another trophy. Unfortunately, the last photo challenge I needed for yet another trophy was right next to the main mission, so my trophy streak was at a halt. Long story short, we basically talked to a bunch of people at this Halloween party to find some scientist dude who has info on the Dragon's Breath, but when we eventually found him, Lee made him commit sewer slide, which isn't very coolio, but I did get that photo challenge trophy after the mission was done, so yippee. We then did this absolutely atrocious mission where I had to sneak by all these sniper lasers or whatevs to sneak into yet another building, which is honestly starting to get insane at this point. But in any case, we found all the information we need about Dragon's Breath on this glorified Google slide, and long story short, it basically just kills people. So now we have to sneak around the Sable base trying to find information on the whereabouts of Dr. Morgan Michaels. So we ask this man bun guy from earlier, and bro just up and points a gun at this hoe. So I quickly swing in to save the day, and bro just ragdolls himself on the floor and probably fucking dies. I don't know. But this is the perfect time to mention that if you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe, and if you couldn't tell by my gargantuan head in the bottom left corner, I stream 100% of my platinum playthroughs on Twitch, so go follow. Switching back to Miles, somehow bro ends up getting beat up by some thugs, so of course me, the good white man or whatever, I beat on these nerds like it was going out of style and give Miles a little bit of motivation and fighting practice. I then chase Lee down in his weird looking truck and he sends me to the spirit realm for an eternal guilt trip. After said trip ends, Lee is gone and so is the Dragon's Breath, which leads us back to MJ in this like museum where the demons are at apparently. But MJ couldn't keep her mouth shut, so Lee locks down the building and holds a bunch of us useless civilians hostage with the Dragon's Breath set to detonate at any second. Admittedly, this mission was actually kinda cool, because for part of the mission you'd actually instruct Spider-Man on who to strategically take down, which did add some fun to the mission, I gotta say. A few moments later, after eventually defusing the Dragon's Breath, we got into a boss fight with Lee, which honestly was slightly hard for me because my dumbass is way too eager and I always end up going for an attack as he's attacking. But I eventually defeated him and got him arrested. Now this would be great if the Dragon's Breath wasn't literally stolen in the following mission. This mission is absolutely awesome though, because we got to just fight a metric assload of prisoners because it was in fact a prison break, and on top of all that, just when the mission couldn't get any cooler, we had the sick ass chase with Electro. But unfortunately for Spidey-Man, he gets ambushed and beat on by pretty much every supervillain within this game. Hopefully in one of these Spider-Man games we get to be stepped on by Black Cat. Anyways, the sinister slimy cum stains left us for dead in this water where we got a trophy and unfortunately gave Dr. Octavius, who is obviously evil now, enough time to release the Dragon's Breath gas to the public. About 30 minutes after that happened, I suddenly had to fight both Vulture and Electro at the same time, which sounds awesome, right? It wasn't. They folded like toilet paper. Comment down below if you fold or scrunch when you wipe. We then took a nap and visited the church to repent for my atrocious videos, but got molested by Scorpion as soon as I got there. At least it wasn't my pastor this time. The venom from Scorpion's tail then put us on a trip equivalent to a weed high according to those Stickman videos, where we basically just searched for an antidote and fought hallucinations for like 20 minutes. At least we got to see Spider-Man naked though. I then got a trophy for hitting a 100 combo, which doesn't count towards the platinum trophy, but I decided to include it because I was mighty proud of myself. Switching back to Miles, it's another stealth mission, obviously, and our objective was basically to get some pills for Aunt May because she's sick, I think. I don't really know, honestly. But yeah, we got the pills and had to sneak around Rhino in this, like, shipping yard, which was actually pretty terrifying, not gonna lie. Miles then assaults an escaped inmate just cuz. I then head back to the shipping yard, but playing as Spider-Man this time, where we have yet another double boss fight with Rhino and Scorpion. This was really easy, as all you had to do for Rhino was drop random shit on his head and punch, and as for Scorpion, you just had to web him up and give him a few spankies like he deserved for poisoning us earlier. Anyways, we then trapped them in a sea can and got a trophy for defeating them. We then got to play as MJ again, but with the stun gun! Yay! Long story short, we basically find out how Martin Lee was created and jumped off a big ass building. Mission done, let's move on. I hate MJ missions. After that boring ass mission though, we got to do some cool stealth as Spider-Man this time, where we basically have to try and get the Dragon's Breath anti-serum before Lee does. But Sable's men end up ruining the PP party and ambush us, but of course we kick their asses and end up making temporary peace with Silver Sable in order to get that anti-serum goodness. But Lee finds us and sends us on a trip where we see what happens a few minutes prior to our arrival, and pretty much all we need to absorb from this is Lee took the anti-serum and wants revenge on Norman Osborn for making him the way he is. Just like Dr. Octavius, which is probably why they are working together. But anyways, we do end up fighting Mr. Martin Lee, and honestly it was pretty easy. I basically just had to dodge his attacks and hit him when he was open, and I got a trophy when I defeated him. Oh yeah, I also almost died shortly after from an altercation with Doc Ock over the anti-serum, so that is not very awesome sauce if I do say so myself. Spidey then gets hospitalized but stands right back up again because Spider-Man is the GOAT. And with all that being said, it's finally time to finish off the story. We watch Peter craft a new suit just like I'll be crafting for like 12 hours straight for the Minecraft Platinum in a few days, so drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss it. Anyways, this boss fight absolutely slapped. I love how these Spider-Man games aim for making boss fights super cinematic and movie-like as opposed to trying to make them as hard as possible. I honestly really enjoy it. But yeah, we basically just had to constantly throw shit at his dome and punch him a lot until we finally beat him and leave him for the vultures. The vultures being the police, of course, because Spider-Man doesn't kill or something. But yeah, we got the anti-serum and used it to cure everyone except Aunt May, which low-key got me feeling emotional, but sometimes you gotta make a rough choice, I guess. Anyways, we got a juicy trophy for beating the game, and it was now time for the cleanup phase, which... let me tell you, it gets absolutely horrific. I decided to start off pretty easy and do all the optional puzzles in Doc Ock's lab. And by do, I actually mean pressing the skip button over and over for 20 minutes straight. Call me cheap if you want, but trust me, I made up for it later. So here's the trophy. I then decided to do some, but not all Taskmaster challenges for a couple trophies. Those being Spy Hunter, Fists of Fury, and Ninja. All the trophies mentioned were for getting spectacular or better in whatever challenge type that may be. I then decided to get a couple longer ones out of the way, starting with completing all the research stations. These are basically some kind of Greta Thunberg-ass environmental activities that are extremely boring, but hey, at least you get a trophy. I then decided to get every single side quest out of the way. Most of these aren't worth talking about at all, but others actually have their own trophies tied to them, so I will only be talking about the relevant ones. The first one being this quest where you have to force this tombstone guy that bitch slapped someone earlier to inhale a bunch of drugs without his consent and proceed to beat him senseless for a trophy. After about another hour of doing side quests, I got 2 trophies for finishing all of them, and finishing all of the corrupted student side quests as well. The corrupted student thing was basically some pointless questline built off that Halloween party from earlier, in case you were wondering. After that, I decided to do one of the most enjoyable collectibles of this game in my opinion, which are the black cat ones. After photographing all the stuffed pussies, we find a black cat's lair, and she's kind enough to leave us a suit that I will never use, but at least I got another trophy. I then grabbed all of Howard's pigeons, which was just another collectible you unlock after finishing a certain side quest, and moved on to the demon warehouses, which are just like all the other hideouts, except they take place in a warehouse and are racially motivated towards Asians. Shortly after that, I got a trophy for doing 10 vehicle takedown crimes, which was honestly by accident, but I have to do every crime anyways, so W. Alrighty, it's now time to finish up the other hideout types. I did each Fisk hideout, which is honestly pretty easy, unlocked all skills for the horrors I'd soon find out this game had planned for me, and did all the Sable hideouts, which are in fact the hardest type of hideout. And by hard, I just mean the enemies were retardedly tanky. And then while working on the final hideout type, being the prisoner camps, I got an easy trophy basically for just spamming trip mines at people. And with that, I did the very last hideout I needed for this platinum. Alrighty, time to do the Taskmaster related trophies. First was the one for actually doing all the challenges, which were really easy and pretty fun to be fair, and then I got to fight the one and only Taskmaster. I did have an oopsie and died once, but on the second try, I realized Taskmaster somehow knew every move but the ones that involve webs because he's a fucking idiot, so I easily webbed him up over and over, eventually defeating him for a trophy. Right after that, I purchased all suits and crafted 15 upgrades with all the goodies I got from doing collectibles. I then did the most horrible, grueling, poopiest part of this platinum yet, which was doing every crime. Holy shit. I actually spent like 4 hours straight just doing crimes, and boy did it ever drain me. But at least I got 2 trophies for completing all crimes in a district, and eventually 100%ing the entirety of Manhattan. Finally, I visited Uncle Ben's grave for the final trophy I needed, and got the platinum straight after. So yeah, that was Spider-Man. I really enjoyed streaming this platinum trophy and making this video for you guys. I just wish the crimes weren't a requirement because they were honestly the only part of this platinum that really sucked. Anyways, go follow my Twitch to see me platinum Minecraft next. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.